everyone, it's Sarah and Mel from the Rocking Motherhood Show. We're back again. We haven't done an interview for a while.
No.
Mel, I'm welcoming Mel to the Rocking Motherhood Show. It's the first time that you've joined, so welcome.
Thanks, Sarah.
So Mel will be doing a lot of the interviews with the Rocking Motherhood Show moving forward. And today we're talking about a topic that I'm really keen to get stuck into. We're welcoming Lael Stone. Hello Lael, how are you?
Thank you.
And we're talking about sex education. And the reason that we're doing that is quite often we think about sex education with our teenagers once they're in high school, but it's really important to start talking to our children when they're younger and to also be equipped with the knowledge from before we even need to speak to our children about sex education. So we're going to get stuck into it today. And I wanted to start off with what age we should be starting to talk to our children.
Well, I really believe it's, sex education, it's not so much about teaching kids about sex when they're little, it's about sexuality and it's about our bodies and those kind of things. So I even talk about from the moment your baby's born, when you touch them gently, when you massage them, what you're doing is you're imprinting what feels good touch. So from the moment you have your baby and you have beautiful skin on skin or massage and all that kind of stuff, that beautiful sensual touch sets up an imprint in the child that says this is what feels good, and so they have no contrast to what doesn't feel good, right? So it's from the moment you have your baby, right? But really, when we're talking about sexuality and that kind of stuff, it starts when they're around 2, 3, 4, around that age. And the reason why it's really important to have this as the beginning time is because, I usually say for 3 reasons. One, the sex education is not a talk, so classically for years we're like, when are you going to have to talk with your child and this awkward conversation and all that kind of stuff. But it's an ongoing talk, it's an ongoing conversation. And the reason why we do that is A, it helps parents feel more comfortable with the conversation, right? Because for a lot of people, sex and sexuality is really awkward. There's a lot of shame that often goes with it with people. They don't know how to talk about it. Talking to your kids and seeing your kids as sexualised beings, particularly the teenagers, is also confronting. So there's a lot that goes with it. Yes. So if we start when our children are little, we're normalising the conversation. We're talking about body parts, we're talking about how our bodies work. It becomes an easier conversation for the parents because it's just continued on. So that's the first reason why it's good to start when they're little. Second reason is we are needing to teach children about safety and their bodies. And as much as that's a topic that's really uncomfortable and we don't want to talk about, we know 30% of children are sexually abused, and when we educate kids about how their bodies are private and what is good touch and what is bad touch, it all works towards helping your child stay safe and also being able to speak up if something's not okay. So that's the second reason why it's really good. And the third reason is information is really empowering for kids, right? So understanding how their bodies work is so beneficial because as we see today, puberty is happening earlier and earlier. And we also see that pornography is one of the biggest obstacles we have when it comes to sexuality. The average age of a child seeing pornography for the first time is around about 10. Which is alarming because their brains are not ready to see that kind of stuff. So when we educate our children again from a younger age, what we're doing is we're helping them to navigate this part of their lives, and make it healthy. Because my biggest thing is we want healthy relationships to our sexuality. So, I teach sex education to teenagers, and one of the biggest things I still see is this lack of belief that girls are allowed to have pleasure. They see a lot of shame that goes with sexuality. So the more we start educating our children from a young age that your body's magnificent, that your body, you have a right to feel pleasure, you have a right to safe relationships, all that kind of stuff, it becomes imprinted in them that when they do reach those teenage years, they are going to say no if stuff doesn't feel good. Absolutely.
That's what we want. We want them to be able to say no. They're also going to know that by the time they reach that point, if somebody is, their partner is acting out in a way that's really kind of pornography based, they're going to go, this is not okay, this is not cool, and so again, that starts at a really young age, empowering our kids to say no, to say I don't want to do that, those kind of stuff. The more that we do that, the more likely they are as
Well, that's what I was going to ask you is, so from what age do you, and what's the conversation you have to start making them aware of what feels comfortable and what's the story for the parents?
Right. So we always talk about learning. So there's usually a few ways you learn with kids, I find, when it talks about sexuality. One is books, which we'll talk about in a minute, but the other way is just life. Like we talk for teachable moments. So when they're in the bath, and they're 2 or 3 or something like that, and you might say wash your toes, you're going to wash your bottom,
you know, you're going to wash your penis, you know, using correct anatomical names.
Well, that was the other thing I was going to ask,
Yes.
because there's so many nicknames
Yeah,
out
it is.
there.
And it's okay to have nicknames as long as your children know the correct names. You know? And again, there's a few reasons for this. You know, I always kind of joke that, you know, we have an elbow, we call it an elbow, we don't call it our outer arm, or we don't call our knee our middle leg or anything like that. But, you know, our vulva or vagina or penis, we've got these names for it. So, again, we're wanting to use the correct names. Again, that is really around safety for kids as they get older, right? So that if somebody is touching them inappropriately, they know to say that such and such was touching this. And they're also aware that is not okay. So I always say start by using the correct names, you know, for parts of your body, you know, and again, for parents that feel a bit uncomfortable around sexuality, the more you practice saying that, the easier it becomes. So the more we can actually say those words, we're like, all right, we're feeling more comfortable.
I suppose what I was trying to get at, so that it's not fear-based for the child, but the child will know that I have a right to say yes or no, but you want to do it in a story that's not fear-based. How would you go about that?
So within that, again, I always encourage parents, and I've worked with parents for a long time with little babies, is to always, you know, ask permission, you know, in touching babies and children. I'm going to put your nappy on now, or you're giving it that information, or can I help you do this, or you know, you're asking permission. So one of the big things we often see is that with little kids, we're like, go and give grandma, you know, a kiss, you know, go and give grandma a hug, and we're really big on letting the child choose if that feels okay for them, because the message that we do when we're often saying to children, go and do something physical with someone, especially if they don't want to, is that we're telling you to do it, so you should. So really a good thing to do with your kids, even if they're little, is just to say, would you like to give grandma a hug, or would you like to wave at her? You know, would you like to give Uncle Jack a high five? You know, so again, we are really respecting the child's bodily autonomy to actually say, I'm not going to make you do that. You know, so especially when they've given a present, you know, go and give them a kiss, thank you. It's, you know, it's like,
I think we're all guilty of that.
Absolutely.
Culturally, don't you?
Totally. So it's just kind of being aware of that, to actually step it back a little bit and go, would you like to do that? You're inviting the child to do what feels comfortable for them. So just those little things are a place to start with that. The other thing too about, you know, creating that safety is also just reminding children, you know, the parts that are covered by our babies are our private parts, okay? And nobody's allowed to touch those private parts, you know, unless unless the child is giving permission for that to happen, if you're perhaps at the doctor, or if it's mum or dad or someone that feels safe for you. You know, so again, we're just saying these are our parts that nobody's allowed to touch. So again, you know, little kids, it's really normal for them to explore each other's bodies. That's how they learn. So 4-year-olds, it's quite normal for them to get naked and want to touch and explore, but again, what you're teaching children is about there are parts of the body that are just for you. You know. So other things too that other beautiful teaching moments is, you know, if anyone has a son, you'll know when they're little, they just walk around holding on to their
What do you mean when they're little?
So you know, that is again they're touching, you know, and girls can do it too. It's like normal. Masturbation is really normal. And again, what we want to tell children is, if that feels good in your body, that's wonderful. But that's something for you to do in private. So you might want to do in your room. You know, we don't necessarily do it at the dinner table. You know, and it's not for anybody else to touch. So just those kind of little seeds that we plant are really about helping children understand this is private for our body. Those kind of things. You know, this is okay, but this is a private thing. You know, so that really again ties into, you know, people aren't allowed to touch parts of your body, you know, that don't feel okay for you. You know, and so that's one of the other things that we really, the benefit of educating kids when they're little is talking about feelings and about what are good feelings and feelings that don't feel safe. You know, so you know, sometimes we talk about what we call early warning signs for kids, which is where, you know, you can do it when they're 3 or 4, when they feel scared about something. What does that feel like in your tummy? You know, it makes you feel a bit frightened, you know, whether it's a big dog or it's a loud noise, that kind of stuff. And naming those feelings make you feel frightened. So understand that. What would help you feel safe? Those kind of things. So I'm very big on talking to kids about feelings and helping children express their feelings, because that's a really important thing. Again, really important tools to keep themselves safe in the world if they need to. So that if somebody is doing something that doesn't feel good to them and they've got that that early warning sign, they can say, no, stop it, I don't like it, or they can move away, or they can come and find you, so that feels okay for them. And what we're getting, again, our children to do is to trust their bodies, to trust that feeling that says, this doesn't feel okay for me. So again, when they are teenagers and they're in a situation where that is happening, they're going, this barometer tells me this doesn't feel good. So that again starts when they're younger, and that when a child does feel frightened or they do feel unsure, it's acknowledging. It's not saying, there's nothing to be frightened about. It's about, I see that you feel scared, tell me about that. What does that feel like in your body? What would help you feel better right now?
And a lot of it starts, I know when we've spoken in the past, a lot of it starts with the parents, doesn't it? And getting over your own past and insecurities and hang-ups.
Yes.
And in order for your children to have the empowerment and the confidence to be able to talk about it, it needs to come from you and you getting over your hang-ups. Can you talk just a little around?
Yeah, so for me, I have 3 kids. So I have a 17-year-old son and a 14-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old daughter. And when my son started to go through puberty, I wasn't working in sex education, and I remember one day having this like, is he looking at porn, and what's this going to be, and oh my god, he's going to become this person that's not respectful, and that worst nightmare of having sons of is that going to be. And I remember ringing one of my mentors at the time who teaches about sexuality, and I'm on the phone having a mother freak out, right? Oh my god. And she was saying to me, she said, Lael, the work's already done. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, the greatest imprint on sexuality is what children watch in the home. And all of a sudden I went, okay, I get this. And she said, our children, like most things, like everything actually, not most things, we may say one thing, but they watch what we do. So it's similar to empathy, how we want our children to be empathetic beings. They learn about empathy by us modelling empathy, by about connecting, by about listening to them, all that kind of stuff. It's the same with sexuality. So that seeing you guys touch each other gently, hugging, kissing, gentleness, respectful relationships, that's where children learn. That's what it's meant to look like, right? So, for parents, I always say, the work is always, again, with yourself, with all parenting, is looking at, what your hang-ups, what your stories are around that. So even if you are not in a relationship, talking about your body kindly, modelling how amazing your body is and how much respect we need to take care of that. Again, that's what imprints on our children. So for a lot of people, again, when we get into the teenage years, the children have already watched a lot already, around healthy relationships, which is why, again, we need to keep working on ourselves to make sure that we're modelling, kindness, considerate, beautiful touch. And even too, touching and hugging your kids, if that feels all right for them, showing them again what beautiful nurturing touch feels like. I always tell a story in my parenting classes that my son is like 6'2", he's massive, right? And so he's so big. So when I cuddle him, I actually sit on his lap. And we cuddle all the time, and he comes up and drapes himself over me, and I'm like, you're like a massive mountain, but he still now at 17, he's still touching, we're still hugging, all that kind of stuff, which again sets up that imprint of what good, intimate touch feels like. And we're not talking about sexualized touch, we're just talking about feeling, that beautiful touch, which is really important. So again, coming back to how that sits with us as parents, as our children do become teenagers and become more sexualized, it absolutely can bring up all your own stuff. I always joke that, when you have teenagers, you have to go through puberty all over again. Right?
Absolutely.
And it brings up all that angst and those fears you had and all that uncomfortable. I mean, puberty's rough. It's rough, right? So part of, the work as a parent is to look at the stuff that we didn't get, to look at the things that felt unfinished for us, and how we can heal that within ourselves so we don't have to pass it on to our kids, right? Because most of the time it's all our own fears that we're just kind of projecting onto our children. We don't want them to happen to them.
Well, I think it's also important to acknowledge that there is sexual abuse that goes on. So when you're parenting and have been sexually abused, I would believe there's a fright, freeze moment, and not knowing.
Completely, And that is a really big thing and a very delicate, field to sit in. And I always encourage people to go and talk about it, do the healing that you need to, all that kind of stuff, so that we are not projecting that onto our kids as well. And one of the biggest things I talk about for parents is, you've got to talk about how it feels for you. I have a lot of wonderful friends who work in this field with me, and as I watch my children go through these different phases. You know, I've been on the phone many times going, oh God, it's feeling really terrifying for me, or this is pushing my buttons with this. And I know a lot of stuff, right? And I'm really comfortable with it, but it's still bringing up all my own angst.
Yes.
You know, and part of it is basically making sure you get to talk about it, figure out what's yours, you know, so you don't place it on their shoulders.
Absolutely.
You know, so that you can have a healthy, open relationship around this topic. It's really important. Because the more comfortable you are with it, the more comfortable your children are going to be with it.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the work, definitely.
And like I always say, knowledge is power. So if you're watching and you've got newborns or you've got toddlers, it's really good just to know this information, to bank it, I guess, and then you're prepared for, because they do grow up so fast.
Yes.
And then you're prepared. Now, you've got a number of books here that are really good as well, and we will pop them on the website too. But can you just...
Yeah, sure. So this one is a great one. It's called I Said No, and this is about helping children to, particularly little kids, have a big no when things don't feel okay. So it talks about just how a little boy in this book was touched and it didn't feel okay, and how he needed to find his no. So it's not scary. It's written really well, and just about helping children say, you know, what do I need to say if things don't feel okay for me? So this is a great one to read, to just give, you know, again, kids the language to understand that it's absolutely okay for them to have a big strong no about what doesn't feel all right for them. You know, that's one of the things we want to expect. There's some other really great big books here for for younger kids. So really around the ages of kind of 2 to 6, when we're talking about sexuality, we're talking, you know, about that, you know, our bodies and the names and all that kind of stuff, safe touch, all those kind of things. But usually kids around that age are interested in pregnancy as well, because they start to, mum might be having a baby, or we start to see pregnant bellies, and they begin to notice differences. So talking to your kids about, you know, this great book, it's called It's Not the Stork, you know, it's about, you know, a really beautiful way about how our bodies work, you know, how a baby grows, all those kind of things. And again, you know, one of the things I really like to highlight for kids at this age, it's just science. There's nothing sexualized about it. It really is just human reproduction. You know, we talk to the kids about why the sun comes out every day. We talk about what happens when you chew your food and you swallow it and then you poo. You know, it's the same thing. You know, again, it's kind of often our hang-ups as parents. You know, but to actually go, no, it's just biology. That's what it is. We're talking about science here for kids, and that's how they see it, and they're fascinated in it. You know, so these books are such a wonderful way to have these conversations with your kids if you don't know how to start. You know, so that's what I always say to parents. If you're like, I don't know how to do this, then get some of these great books, and you can just read them with your kids, and they absolutely love them, and they'll want to read them again and again. And I think the other thing I really like to highlight too is that one of the big concerns for parents is that what if I'm teaching my kids, is this going to, you know, they're going to lose their innocence if they know about this kind of stuff and they're young. But the thing to understand is that kids will only take in as much information as they need at that time. So you could be talking to a 5-year-old about how perhaps a baby gets in there, or a baby comes out of a vagina, or that kind of stuff, and they go, oh yeah. You know, but then again, when they're 9 or 10 and it's starting to get, you know, move towards puberty, they'll ask the same questions again. So I have a 9-year-old daughter, and you know, we talk about puberty and periods and all that kind of stuff all the time. And she's watched her older sister go through all of that. But I gave her one of these books to read just the other day, and she came back and asked all these questions that I've answered many times before, but all of a sudden there's a whole new lens on it, because she's like, I'm getting closer to this. So these conversations you have many times, many times. And I was sitting there going, wow, we've talked about this so many times. But now she's really like, oh, so what about this and what about that? And I was like, beautiful. So they're the great
It's
conversations.
really important to know. That's
It's
a bit of
many
a
conversations.
Because you think you've got to have the talk or this moment and this is going to happen. But it's just that, like you said before, continuing that conversation.
So again, it's kind of, we talk about the general rules of, if your child's interested, answer what they're interested in. So don't give them extra information if they're not really wanting it. But, you know, little kids are great at asking questions. They're going to keep asking. So answer their questions if you can. And then just wait and see those windows of when other opportunities come up. You know, look for those teachable moments. You know, so and again, even as older kids, lots of teachable moments when you're watching TV. You know, when you're watching people be sexy on TV, you know, with 9 and 10-year-olds, what do you think that means? And what does that look like? And, you know, so there's heaps of moments all the time where you can talk about these things.
And I actually, it's quite interesting, because even when you watch cartoons, or like, for instance, Toy Story, there's what the 4-year-old or 5-year-old that gets out a tall
Yeah,
story,
yeah.
and then there's the adult, like you
Yes.
hear the little puns through
Yes,
it.
yes.
And it's exactly the same as
Absolutely.
this, isn't it?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we'll look at it from a
Yeah.
different perspective.
Totally,
Yeah.
they'll take it in a different way. So there's some really great books. These are great books. That Secret Boys Business, Secret Girls Business. You know, they're great ones that are just for kids that are maybe 8, 9, 10, just about puberty, you know,
Yes.
about what's happening. And again, we need to educate our kids younger because puberty is happening a lot younger. You
Yes.
know, girls are getting their periods when they're in grade 5 and grade 6 and those kind of things. And so we want to prepare our children so that they know it's not a scary thing. This is a really normal thing, and how we celebrate those changes. So they're good to learn.
I went through that with my daughter, and interesting enough, what she took out of it was everyone was different shapes.
Yes,
So the
beautiful.
breasts were
Yes,
different shapes,
yes,
everything was,
yes.
the bodies,
Yes.
and that's what she wanted to talk
Yes,
about.
beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful.
isn't it lovely?
And again, I think they'll move towards, you know, those questions that they're really pondering. You know, and part of again doing it when they're younger is that when they do reach those teenage years and there's going to be a lot more questions, it's easier to have those conversations around it. You
Yeah.
know, so that we're not, it's not the awkwardness. And again, we're wanting to normalise this.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. Another beautiful book I'd like to mention, which is called Introducing Teddy, which is just about gender, you know, and it's something it's pretty big at the moment in our culture, which is around transgender and all those kind of things, and we're seeing it's more acceptable these days, and more people are identifying as this, and helping our children again have an understanding about what that means. So this is a beautiful book about just how sometimes we might look one way but feel different on the inside,
Yes.
those kind of things. And what we're teaching our kids with this is just beautiful acceptance. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, even when we were kids, you know, homosexuality was still something a bit foreign, whereas now it's like, okay, that's okay. So
Yeah.
we're seeing these different things grow, and what we're wanting to do again with our children is just teach them beautiful acceptance, that we all are different, we all have different bodies,
Yes.
we might be attracted to different people, all those kind of things, you know.
Yeah.
So it's planting those seeds, you know, when kids are little, because you know, I think when we put those beautiful messages in there, then they grow up to be far more respectful humans.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Now the links for all of those books will be on the website. If you want to find out more, you deliver sex education talks in schools.
Yeah,
and a
and
range.
for adults. So I run a workshop called How to Talk to Your Kids About Sex,
Yeah.
right? Which is really, you know, for any age kids you've got, you know,
Yes.
come along. So I do really the age appropriate stuff for the little kids and those middle years, teenage stuff. And we go through all the conversations you should be having or could be having, how you navigate them. We also take a look at what trips us up as adults. So what are the parts that feel really awkward for you, how you can work with that, those kind of things. So it's a great fun workshop, which is really about, again, empowering adults to have these conversations in a way that is
Great.
good.
Yeah. And so if people want to find out more, they can go to your Facebook
Yeah,
page.
so
probably the
all
best.
my events are on the Facebook page, and so they can, you know, book into the workshops there and that kind of stuff. And I also do one-on-one sessions as well. So if you didn't want to come to a workshop and
Didn't
you've
feel
got,
comfortable.
you know, then I can do sessions on Skype or in person and that kind of stuff.
Oh, amazing.
Okay,
Great.
so that's facebook.com Lael Stone, Laelstone, and I'll have all of the links up on the website as well. We are going to do part 2 to this, which when I first met with Lael and we started talking about porn, I was completely blown away about the children, the internet and porn. So part 2, keep an eye out for it, because we will be talking further about that as well. If you've got any questions at all, pop them on the post, pop them on the website, send them through to sarah@littlerockersradio.com.au, or pop them on Lael's page, and we can start a conversation.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for
Thank
joining us
you.
today.
Pleasure.
Thank
Great.
you. Bye.
Bye.